In this video, we're going to look at using the advanced query to query a custom post. In that custom post, we have several fields. So we have a date from, a date to field. Then we have a choices select, which returns choices such as choice B, choice C. Then we have a selling price, which is a numerical value. And then we have a repeater field. And what we're going to do now is have a look and see how to use the advanced filter to query these various items. So to make up this filter or this query that you see here, I'm going to head over into Oxygen. I'm going to edit my query. And you'll see that I've generated one big meta query that then queries all those values. So we first start with product type, and because this is just on a standard page, we've said the post type. In this case, I called it product test. And then we have the meta query. Now, just to run through the queries, the first query that we have then is a query which is a date query. So the type is date. And there we look at the date from field. So we've said if the date from is greater than the 30th of November, then include the post. And if the date is also less than the 25th of the 12th, include the post. So if we go across here and have a look, you'll see that they're within that parameter. Now what I'm going to do is change the to date to less than 24. So now I head over here and I change the to date to less than 24. And I'm going to save that. And now when I refresh the list of posts, you'll see that there's only one visible. I'm going to head back into the query. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to return that to 30. And then I'm going to do a date from change. So the date from then, we'll say, well, let's get the other post back first and then we'll have a look. So we'll save that. Right, so now we have both back, and now we'll say from the 12th. So we eliminate that first post. So we'll head over into edit query. And now I'm going to make that the 12th. Save. Head over to the front end, and you'll see now the reason it's still there is because we didn't change the month. We just changed the end date. So let's make that the 12th of December. And now it will filter for the month of December. And now you'll see that when we refresh, only the second post is visible. So that's how the date query works. And the format that you need to return from your custom field setup is 2021-12-12. So if we go and have a look at the field group and we look at the date from date or the date to, this value over here in the return format must be capital Y-M-D, and that will then return the correct format for the query. The next thing that we're going to look at then is going to be the options, and this is the option select, and the option select is the choices select field here. So you'll see a choice C, choice D, choice E. So pretty much what we've done here now, just to show you how we generate the key, is the key is the name of the custom field. So date from, date to, the option select. These are all the names of the custom field. So if I close here, you'll see that there we have our date from and our date to. There we have the we have a selling price. We have an options, which is the repeater, which we'll come to later. So we pretty much use that name as the key. So when we look at our query and we want to know what key to use, it's the name, not the title, but the database name for the custom field. So it's not the label, it's the name. Right, so that's how we work with the key. And now we have choice C But let's have a look and see what we have in choices. So what I'm going to do now is just reset that query. So what we'll do now, we'll go -11 -30. So we get the posts visible again. Head over to the front end, enter. Right, so there we have the post back. Now what we're going to do is have a look to see how the choices work. Now here we have choice B and choice C selected, and here we have choice C, choice D, and choice E. So I'm just going to indicate that we want anything with the choice B selected. So if I go into my query, and now what I'm going to do is the choice C, I'm going to change to a choice B. Save. And when I head over to the website, you'll see that the first post is visible and the second one isn't. And if I go into my query again, and now what I'm going to do is change the choice B to a choice E. Let's just save that. And now when we have a look at the results, you'll see now that the second post is visible and the first one isn't visible. What I can also do is have a look and request that more than one item is available in the result. So let's head over here, and you'll see that we've just set choice E, but then I can add a second value and quite easily say that choice E and choice D must be visible. So let's save that. And now when we head over to the website and we refresh, you'll see that we get an error. The error is due to the fact that we, when filtering by the select field, we actually need to create a new meta query for the second value. So to do that, what we'll do is we'll head over back to our query, and now what we're going to do is, instead of including both choices in the same query, we're now going to create a second query, and we're going to include it in that one. So we add the two values, scroll down, first one, the relation, we say and then we set up the array, and in the array now we'll use the same key. So I'm just going to copy that key. There we have the key. Now we're going to enter the value, and the value for this one we're going to make choice D. Choice D, and then we're going to put in the compare, and the compare will also be like. Right, so there we have the same query, but now we're looking at a different value. And now when we refresh, you'll see that the query runs correctly and only the second post shows. Now we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to just change it to include the choice B. So we're going to edit that query, scroll down, and now I'm going to change the choice E to be choice B, and that should then filter the results, and we should see the other post visible now in the listing. No, let's just go back and have a look, see what values are available there. So here I am in the query. I'm just going to edit that query again, and I'm going to change the values. So we're going to say then choice B and choice C. So there we have choice B and choice C. Save, head over to the website, enter, and there you see we have the first post with choice B and C, and we had a look and we saw how we could retrieve the second one with choice D and E. So that's how you can search or do the query by the select field. The select field that we used is this one here that we have in our field group here. It was option select, and you'll see we just have choice A, choice B, choice C, choice D, choice E. And in the custom post type itself, it's just the standard select item. Right, now what we need to do is have a look at the next item on the list here, and that is with the selling price, which is a number. So I'm going to go into my query now, and you'll see that I have a value set up here by selling price, which is the name of the custom field. and the value that we have there is 2500, and I'm going to now just remove the second query here, and I'm also going to now just select let's see, what was that, choice D, and that should then show both posts again. So I'm just going to save that, head over to the front end and enter. Still not, so I'm going to take away the that query completely, just so we can see both posts again. So remove that and remove that. Right, so now if I go and have a look on the front end, we should see both posts, and now we're going to do that numerical filter. So the common field between the two is choice C, so we'll put that back. But before we do that, I'm just going to show you on the number that we have here. So here we have the key, which is the selling price. We have a value, and we've said greater than 2500, and what I'm going to do now is say greater than 3, so that we only see the second value. So I'm going to head over here, and we're going to say greater than 3, close and save. And now when I look at the values here, you'll see that only the second post is visible. In a similar way, if I head over to the query and I say only show values less than, and we make that less than 5000, you'll see now that only the post with a value of 3000 will be visible in the results. The next one that we're going to look at then, so we just wait for that to refresh. Still showing. Let me just go back to my query. So in the query, that compare was missing. Head over to the front end of the website, and now you'll see that it shows the 3000. If we wanted to look at values between two values, we can do that. We can head over then to the selling price. I'm now going to say let's go 2500 and 5500, and now I'm going to say between and close, save. And now when we have a look, you'll see that both posts are visible again. And if I wanted to bracket just the first one, I will edit the query, and what I'm going to do now is change the second value there to 3500, close, save. And now when we run the query, you'll see that only the first post is visible, so there, because it falls between those two parameters. So that's how we can work with numbers. And what I'm going to do now is just say, in fact, we can do the bracketing between, and I'm just going to change that to 5500. And what I'm also going to do is add the query back for the choices. So I'm going to add the query back here, and we're going to make that an array, and we're going to add the value. And now quickly head back to our custom fields. Here we have our custom select, and so we're going to choose the option select custom field as the key. So we go to the key, enter the key. Now we're going to put in the value, and the value here was choice C, which means that both posts will be visible. And we look at the compare value and select like. Close that, save, and now when we refresh, you'll see that that is now also part of the query and that both posts are visible. The next thing that we're going to do is have a look at the repeater field. Now the repeater field works slightly differently because it's a subfield and not a main field. So in order to access those values, there's a function that we need to add as a snippet to the website so that the filter will work correctly. So what I'm going to do is just show you how to set that up. So the first thing to do is when you head over to Advanced Custom Fields, you'll see that on their website they have a reference here on how to set up a post in a subfield. And in order to do that, we need to add this function over here to the website. And the reason for doing this is to access then the subfields and to be able to do a query on the subfields. There's more information here about the technical reasons for it, but all we need to do to get it to work is put this function on the website. And the way that it works is as follows. Here is the snippet that I've used on this website. So you'll see here it looks at the meta key options underscore, and the $ acts as a wildcard representing all the subfields that are in the options repeater. So when I go and have a look at my custom fields, and here's my repeater, you'll see that my repeater's field name is options. So what you need to do is take the name of your custom field and enter that here into the first piece, underscore, and then the $. That's all you need to do, is replace those values, and then this function will ensure that the repeater is queried when we do the query inside the advanced query. Now what I'm going to do is head over to my query and show you how to input that value into the query. So what we have here is, you'll see there's the options underscore $, and if I scroll a little bit to the right, you'll see then that we have option title. So what I've done there now is I've included the name of the subfield in the next portion. So if I go back here, you'll see that we have the option title. So here in my Oxygen query, I've said the options underscore $, and then option underscore title is the name of the subfield that we've used. In the example given here on advanced custom fields, you'll see that they have a repeater called locations, and in that repeater they have a subfield called city, and that's what they've used here for these two queries. So what we've done is we've taken the name of the repeater, which is underscore options underscore $, underscore, and after that underscore the name of the custom field, and in that we've entered option 1, and you'll see here that on both these posts we have option 1. So what I'm going to do now is change the option on one of those to option 2. So here I'm updating that subfield in my repeater to option 2. I'm going to update the post, and now when I run the query, you'll see that that field, that particular post, is no longer coming up in the query results. I'm going to head now back to the back to my editor here, the advanced query. I'm going to change that now to option 2. Save that, and now you'll see that the second item is now visible. So what I'll do now is just change it back to option 1. So that's how you can query the repeater field. And what we're going to do now is look at option price. So when I go and have a look at the website now, you'll see that that's not working. Let me just check that I've got the right values here. So option 2, and we changed it back to option 1. So back to option 1. So that's why nothing was displayed. And now I'm going to enter, and both are back. And now you'll see here that we have option 1 and option 2. Now what I'm going to do in the query now is actually add in the price for those items. So here in my repeater, I'm going to add another field. So we're going to add a text value, and now in this text value in the repeater, we're going to add the field which had the option price. So here I can see that I'm looking for option price. So here I'm going to go to the repeater field, and I'm going to look for option price. We're going to insert that. So now we have the option price displayed in the results as well. We'll save that. And now we'll head over to the website, and now you'll see that the option price is the price right at the bottom, and we have one of 200 and one of 1,000, and now we're going to query that in the query. So I head back to the repeater, head back to the query, advanced query, and now what I'm going to do is just copy this value here, which is the key, and what I'm going to do now is add the two values, scroll down, the relation is and then we enter the array, and we'll add the three values, and now we're going to add the key. So the key in this case is going to be the option, not the option title. Now what we need to look at is the option price. So we go into the editor, and now, so we keep the option underscore dollar underscore. After that underscore, we're going to delete everything, right? So everything deleted, and now I'm pasting in option price. Then I'm going to put in the value, and I'm going to add a value, and we know that it's between 200 and 1,000. So what I'm going to do in the first instance is I'm going to say greater than 300. So we're just going to see the second post. So we make that a 300. Then I'm going to put in compare, and I'm going to say greater than. So now we're going to query a numerical value in the repeater. Save. Head over to the website, and now I should only see the post with the custom option value of 1,000. So let's just refresh that again. So now I'm going to head over to my query again. I'm going to scroll down and just make sure that I have everything correct. So we have the value of 300, we have the compare of greater than, and we have options underscore option price, and let's add a type, and let's tell it that it's a numeric field. Save and refresh, and now you'll see that it's working. So when you're doing the subfield, you need to tell it that it is a numeric field. And what I'm going to do now is edit that query again, and I'm going to change that. So we said greater than 300. Now what we're going to do is say smaller than that value, and that should automatically then bring up the 200, and now we can also bracket it between two values. So I'm going to head over here, and I'm going to add a second value here, and I'm going to make the second value 100, and I'm going to change the compare to between. So it now knows it needs to look for a value between the 300 and the 100, and I'm going to just have a look at that, refresh again, and edit that query. Right, so the between value is not working when looking at the subfield. So another way of doing that would be then to let's say the value in this case would be the type is numeric, and we need to add the compare. So we're going to add the compare here and say that the value is greater than, and we'll make that 100, and then we'll add another value here, and in that value what we're going to do then relation, and we'll make that and again, and we're going to put in the array, and in the array once again the key we're going to do is going to be the same as that previous key. So I'm going to put in key, Then what I'm going to do is add in the value, and the value in this case will be 300, and the type will be numeric, and then finally the compare is going to be smaller than. So we're basically saying greater than 100, smaller than 300, numerical value, save. And now we should have the first post visible with the 200, and now what we'll do is we'll do that for the second one. Now we know that that has a value of 1000, so we'll edit the query and scroll down, and now what we'll do is we'll make that greater than 900 and smaller than 3000, save. And now you will see that we have the second one. So the other thing that we can do now is, if I was to change the value of this post with 1000, and I changed the option here to option 2, and I update, and I head over here to the query and I refresh, you'll see that nothing is visible. So I head back into my query, and so now I'm actually doing the filter by the main fields, and I'm also doing it by the subfields in the repeater. And I change that option value to option 2, and I refresh the page. You will see then that that particular post is back. So to get them both back now, maybe I want to do option 1 and option 2. So what I'm going to do now is, so here we have the options by option 2. I'm now going to create the query again so that we can include option 2. So that was if you wanted 2 specific values or specific values returned. So now we go relation and head over to array, and now we're going to add the values again. So here we go to the key, and the key is the same as the key for option 1, which was option title. Then I'm going to look at the value. So the value is going to be option 1. So there we have option 2. Now we have option 1, and we're going to look at compare, which is equal, and we'll close that, save that, and now we'll have both posts, no post visible. Let's have a look at the query. So where we have option, the key, option title. So what we can do now is let's try the option 1 here. So we'll just delete this one. So now we've included both text values in the same query, and that will give us the error, which happened the same with the select. So we're now going to edit that query, and we're going to go to option 1, and then let's add that again as a value, and the relation will be and the array, let's have a look, we'll enter the key. So that's the option title and the value, and the reason why nothing is showing is because none of them have the value of option 1 and option 2. So when we use the AND relation here, it's impossible because none of the posts have that value. So what was returned is in fact correct. There are no post with those two values. So to make that work, I would have to say or. So it would have to be option 1 or option 2. So there we have option 1, and now we have option 2, and we need to use or as the relation. Now when I save and I refresh, now when we refresh, we'll see both posts displayed. Just a tip, when dealing with the queries in Oxygen Builder, you'll see that this query is rather large. You'll see that I initially included all the queries in one meta query. However, that's not a requirement, and what I found is that when this meta query got too big, Oxygen wouldn't load, and probably to do with the size of this meta query. So by removing just the options _ option title, which was the query for the title of the repeater, just by removing that into a separate meta query, Oxygen loaded again and is working fine. So I think it's important not to make your meta queries too big, trying to put everything into one meta query. You can split it up. You can have more than one meta query in your advanced query. So that, however, is now working. You'll see the two options there, and everything is working fine. So that's how you can query your custom posts by custom fields, and then also how you can query the repeater fields and manipulate the values, numbers, or text as you would a normal field. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you for watching.